What's good, Shellitronnn here. You can call me Shells, and I'm back again with a brand new video, and I gotta keep it a Bowberry biscuit. This is heartbreaking news right here. By this point, you've all seen it, and if you haven't seen it, you are very late. This is horrible, honestly. Show the tweet right here from Joe Person. It says, Panthers and Greg Olsen have mutually agreed to part ways. Of course, he is still under contract, so the team would have to cut him or trade him if he doesn't retire. That is bad. But the next tweet from Joe Person is even worse. It says, in my conversations with Greg Olsen, he made it abundantly clear he did not want to be a part of a rebuild. I'm going to get to this second tweet a little bit later in the video, but this first tweet we have to focus on because this is a big hit. This is a big hit because we can talk about what Greg Olsen is now, but let's not forget about what Greg Olsen has been for the past almost decade. He has been on the Panthers. As we all know, he's been on the team for 9 years, and his stats speak for themselves. Let's just be real quick. When we got him from the Bears, we stole him from the Bears, basically for free. They did not know what they had in Greg Olsen, but we knew what Greg Olsen was, what he could be, the kind of impact a tight end can have on a franchise, on a team. And Greg Olsen has been, basically for a long time before we got DJ Moore, the only reliable receiving threat on this Panthers team, apart from Brenton Burson. I see you, Colby. Over his 9-year career with the Panthers, Greg's caught 524 passes for 6,463 yards and has 39 touchdowns. That is huge impact for a tight end. In this day and age, yeah, we see some guys doing it. George Kittle, we see Travis Kelce, we saw Gronk for a while. But those are guys who are outliers from the norm. You don't see that many teams using the tight end position as heavily as those teams and as heavily as we did over the past, let's call it 6-7 years. Now, we know in 2017 and in 2018, Greg got hurt. He had 2 season-ending foot injuries. Well, one wasn't season-ending, but he had a long period of time where he wasn't playing, and it was looking bad. There was some rumors that he might retire before this year. There was a lot of talk about him going to the broadcasting booth. And if you've heard and if you've seen Greg Olsen over the airwaves, seen him on TV, you know Greg Olsen definitely has a future in broadcasting. Some players, don't have the voice. Some players don't have the insight for it, but you can tell whenever Greg Olsen speaks about football, not just X's and O's, but the outside the lines kind of stuff as well. You know he knows what he's talking about, and he can convince you of anything. But this news right here would be tolerable if that's what he was doing, if we knew that Greg Olsen was retiring and going to the broadcast booth, going in there so we can hear him every Sunday or Thursday, whatever it's going to be. But that's not the case. Greg Olsen's made it clear that he still wants to play football. He still wants to play football, and he even told Joe Person, and basically we all knew, he says very publicly, he does not want to be a part of any rebuild. So what does that mean for Panthers fans? If Greg Olsen, a veteran, a leader on this team, is leaving the team the same year as a leader, not just a leader, the leader on the defense, and Luke Kuechly retires from the game, and a lot of pieces on the defense are either going to be out of a contract, needing to be re-signed, or not coming back as well, we're looking at a situation where there are a ton of leaders leaving the team, and there's going to be what it looks to be a changing of the guard, and the team will not have the same kind of look, the same kind of leadership, the same kind of veteran voices with experience in that locker room and on the field. These are guys who not only are good at their position, these are guys who can tell you what every other position on that side of the ball should be doing. We all know Luke could direct the D-line. He could tell the corners and the nickel what they should be doing. And obviously Greg Olsen knows what the blocking assignment should be. He knows where the cam should be looking. He knows where the receiver should be. He knows what the defense is doing. He is one of the best tight ends in the game at finding the soft spot in the zone, sitting down there, and getting a first down consistently. That is what Greg Olsen did. That's what Greg Olsen does when he's healthy. And this past season, he was healthy. We saw some really great games out of him this season, but there were also several games this year where we completely forgot about the tight end position, and we did not target him. He got maybe 1 or 2 targets, no catches, 3 targets, 1 catch, and we completely took him out of the game for no reason at all. And I think that happening, along with him recognizing that there are going to be a lot of things that this team needs to fix, either in the draft or paying players this offseason, in order for this team to have any sort of chance to have a deep playoff run. Now, Greg Olsen knows football. We all understand that. We can accept that for a fact. So when Greg Olsen says he does not want to be a part of a rebuild, and then he goes to the front office of the Carolina Panthers and tells them, I want out. Do you think the Panthers went to Greg Olsen and told him, hey, Greg, we want to go ahead and just let you go, man. I know you're a veteran voice in the locker room. You're our best tight end right now. You can really help out the quarterback situation and either, whatever it's going to be. And but honestly, we'd feel more comfortable without you on the roster. Or do you think it's a little more likely that Greg Olsen went to them and said, look, I see what's going on here. You might be able to field a good team next year. It's kind of a long shot, but I don't want to take those odds on. And I think it'd be best for me, with my limited years left in the league, if I went to a different team and found a contender to end my career with. Maybe he comes back and wants to retire as a Panther. That's possible. I can see that happening. So when Greg Olsen believes that it's going to be a rebuild, and he thinks there are a lot of holes, meaning the offensive line, which we can just say, fix the offensive line. Front office, fix the O-line. Is it fixed yet? Is there a guarantee that the offensive line will be fixed? You can put a lot of resources into it. You can trade for players, you can draft players, you can pay players. But does that guarantee that this will be a top 10 offensive line? Putting resources in and getting results aren't the exact same thing. We saw that just this past season. And then, even if you have a really good offensive line, say you have a top 10 offensive line, say you retain Cam, say Cam has one of the best seasons of his career, over 30 points a game for this offense. But if you use all of your resources for the offensive line, and there's 6 or 7 guys on the defense who are starters or very important role players that are gone, that need to be paid, how do you actually win games if you're allowing 40 plus points a game? Keep in mind, we were allowing 30 points a game this season with those pieces in place, with Luke in place. Over 200 yards rushing a game. It's not about whether one player's going to have a good season. Cam can have the best season of his life. If the defense isn't playing right, if the defense is allowing points to be put on the board, it's not going to amount to wins. And I think that's what Greg Olsen was seeing here. He said, look, you probably can fix one side of the ball in one offseason. You can probably spend all of your resources, meaning the draft capital, meaning your free agency, and try to plug in all the holes either on the offensive line or on the defense. Focus on one side of the ball or the other. But the point of the matter is, you probably can't get a very good offensive line and a franchise defense as a whole in one offseason. There are important pieces. The whole left side of the line is a question mark. Every single level of the defense is a question mark. There's at least 3 players in the D-line you have to replace. You have to replace the best player on defense in Luke Kuechly. You have to get another linebacker in general. Then you have one corner who has been one of the best corners in the league, and the stats prove it, and his stats against 3 of the top 5 receivers in the entire league proves it. His contract's up. You have a free safety who played pretty solidly and has played pretty well the last 2 seasons for his last 2 teams he played with. His contract's up. You have Dante Jackson, who I believe we all have questions about. Dante Jackson. So there are question marks and holes at literally every single position on the defense. And Greg said, I do not want to be a part of what's going on here. Now, what I think is going to happen is, I think the team is going to go ahead and just cut him. I don't think we'll have a lot more respect for him. We're going to say, look, we're not going to trade you to a different team. We're not going to move you to a team where you might not be a contender. We'll let you choose what your destination is going to be. They'll probably cut him so he can go out in the free agency market and go out wherever he wants to go rather than us choose a destination. We'll probably only get a comp pick for him. Oh, man. But we won't be getting what his value is going to be. And maybe we do trade him. Maybe we do, but I think we do the right thing and just cold cut him, which would help him get to where he wants to go because he won't cost anything for the team he's going to. They don't have to give up anything other than what his contract's going to be. And he'll probably give them a pretty friendly deal because he's going to be an aging tight end who has a lot to give, but you don't want to give up too much draft capital for a tight end who only has maybe 1 or 2 more years left in the league. But past that, this is a sad day. Greg Olsen, not only a very good tight end, but a very important leader, a voice in the locker room, a veteran, is gone. That's 2. 1 on each side of the ball. Guys who are extremely important to the culture of this team. Gone in the span of 2-3 weeks. I'll talk about Ian Thomas in a different video. This is all about Greg Olsen though. But I will say this, I do believe in Ian Thomas. He will be a good tight end moving forward. But I do think he would have benefited from having 1 more year with Greg Olsen mentoring him right there, showing him the ropes, showing him how it's done on the field as well as off the field, studying everything. But so I got for right now, man. What are y'all thoughts on Greg Olsen leaving the team, him and the team mutually agreeing? And you know, when you say mutually agree, it ain't never mutually agreed. What are your thoughts on it? Let me know all your thoughts in the comments below. And you already know to do with that like button.
Cheers to you, appreciate the chance. Been told y'all I been the man. Been told y'all I had the gift. Tell a friend to tell a friend. Real ones gonna recommend. Count this as another win.